So, as usual, we have Konujam come to store is joining us as a panelist from England, and we have Hikmarajam joining us from Arizona as a panelist this week. And we Jasmine and I we talked about it, and inshallah, so we thought that inshallah with coming Ramadan, it'd be nice also to start the Ramadan by reading, of course, as usual, the treatise from on fasting from the Risale Nur. And hopefully, we're going to read together and talk about Ramadan, and inshallah. So, this is like how we would like to welcome this precious month all together, inshallah. All right, let's, without further ado, let's just begin. And inshallah, to like an hour meeting. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So we're gonna start like reading from our Sanur on fasting, and this is for those of you. So again, like this, yeah, hopefully you can see it. All right, so we're gonna be just let's start from top. Okay, Bismillah. On fasting, meanings and messages from the month of Ramadan. In the name of God, the Merciful, the Compassionate. This treatise consists of 9 points, each of which explains some of the instances of wisdom in the month of Ramadan. It was the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was bestowed from on high as a guidance unto men and a self-evident proof of that guidance and as the standard to discern true from false. From Quran 2:185. The first point, the fast, that is a footnote. Ramadan is usually described as the month of fasting, but Ramadan involves much more than abstaining from food and drink, which is what fasting actually signifies. However, we have retained the words fast and fasting since they enjoy a currency that is universal. Muslim readers will be aware that during Ramadan, we abstain from much more than just food and drink. Non-Muslim readers unfamiliar with Ramadan may be surprised to hear that the range of things that we are supposed to abstain from is considerable. They should also bear in mind that wherever we use the words fast and fasting here, we mean the wider sense of abstinence and abstaining, i.e., abstaining from all negative actions, rather than just abstaining from food and drink. Let's go back. All right, the first point. Fast of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and one of the faith's greatest signs or distinguishing features. There are numerous wise purposes in the Ramadan fast. These wisdoms pertain both to God's dominicality and to man's personal and social life. They are also linked to the training of the lower self known as tazkiyah, and to the gratitude felt for all of the bounties given by God. One of the many wise purposes of fasting in Ramadan is as follows. God Almighty created the face of the earth in the form of a banquet table, covered with bounties, each of them coming from whence he does not expect. Quran 65:3. In arranging this banquet, God expresses the perfection of his lordship, as well as his mercy and compassion. Since we are enmeshed in a world of cause and effect, and veiled by forgetfulness, the reality of this situation is often lost on us. During the month of Ramadan, however, the people of belief suddenly take on the stance and demeanor of well-organized army. As sunset approaches, they act as though they have been invited to the pre-eternal monarch's feast, waiting patiently and worshipfully for the command, step forward and help yourselves. The mercy of their Lord is compassionate and universal, and they respond to it with worship that is orderly, elevated, and comprehensive. Do you think that those who do not worship in this way and who are unwilling to participate in such a feast deserve to be called human? All right, so this is the first point, and now I would like to listen our panelists and to say some words about it. Actually, maybe it would be best to start with Konlajam since he's the translator of this version of this treatise, and maybe it would be nice to start with him, and then I'd like to go back to Hikmatojam to listen to his thoughts on this. Konlajam?
Um, yeah, I was hoping you'd start with Hikmet Hoca because he's closer to you
Yeah.
geographically, I think, maybe.
Yeah, geography. Yeah, but I chose you because like maybe just you have something like this, maybe just to like a different or something, or maybe just like some sort of kind of like maybe a little some sort of kind of memory that you'd like to share, like while you're translating this treatise, what you were thinking about it,
It,
or maybe
it, it was a long time ago, and I just realized I used Dominicality and I shouldn't have.
I shouldn't. I see. I see. Yeah,
Because
that's a great memory. Yeah.
yeah, no one knows what Dominicality is. If you say it to someone on the street, they
Yeah.
will, unless they're a Catholic priest, they will
Uh-huh.
have no idea what you mean by Dominicality.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
changed it to lordliness or lordship, which is
Lordship.
equally
Hmm.
problematic in its own way,
I see.
because Rab has to be explained, obviously.
Hmm. Hmm.
Rab it cannot be explained, or Rububiyya cannot
Right.
be explained in one word in English. It's impossible.
Hmm. 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 Yeah.
Um, I think the very last sentences in this
Mhm.
seem quite harsh.
Right, isn't it? Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes does seem harsh. I would
Hmm.
say not harsh enough sometimes, but
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, he's saying that, do you think those who do not worship in this way and who are unwilling to participate in such a feast
Yeah.
deserve to be called human? Now, the feast is not
Hmm.
the iftar.
Right.
Feast is Ramadan
Ramadan.
itself.
Yeah.
The feast is the actual fast.
Hmm. Hmm.
The iftar really is secondary to the feast, which is the fast, if that makes
Right.
sense. And
Yes. Yes.
every year it happens. It's the same thing. Our neighbor, when
Hmm.
it's Ramadan,
Hmm.
our neighbor is not Muslim, and
Hmm.
she says, "Oh, you poor things! I feel so sorry for you. You're starving yourselves." Basically, she doesn't say that, but that's what she
Right.
means.
That's actually, yeah.
It's so difficult. Must be so difficult for you. She said, "I could never do it." And I'm thinking,
Hmm.
actually, she feels sorry for us fasting, but
Hmm.
I feel more sorry for her
Hmm.
and for people like her who
Right.
do not understand
Yeah.
um, the nature of existence, actually,
Hmm.
and the nature of Allah and the nature of our relationship with Allah, which
Yeah.
can only be known through uh, Ramadan. Now, I
Hmm.
say that, but I remember when I first started fasting, this is many, 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 many years ago, all I got from it was hunger and thirst,
Yeah.
to be honest. All I
Hmm.
got from it was hunger and thirst. This was
Hmm.
before I met Risale.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
was, I was, I think, still a teenager
Hmm.
at the time.
Right.
And all I got from it was like hunger and thirst,
Hmm.
because what Ramadan teaches us, as we'll see as we go through this treatise,
Hmm.
is that it is a perfect training month to
Hmm.
understand our ajz and fat.
Hmm.
In other words, to understand our existential reality.
Hmm.
It's not about not eating and not drinking. Okay, that's one of the things that is central, but
Hmm.
it's only through not eating and not drinking do we ever feel hungry or do we ever feel thirsty.
Right.
And hunger and thirst are signs of absence and signs of lack. Now,
Hmm.
if we were, how can I say, self-generating, if we were self-sufficient,
Hmm.
and because we are not qayyum, if we were, we would never ever need to eat because we would always feel satiated
Mhm.
and we wouldn't feel thirsty. Feeling thirsty and feeling hungry are
Mhm.
actually symptoms of our ajz and faqr. And so this is why, the main abstention, the main abstinence is from
Mhm.
food and drink. But there are so many other things as well, which are markers of our ajz and faqr.
Mhm.
And it's really only in this month that it becomes, sorry, it becomes very clear to us how
Yeah.
weak we really are, physically, that is. But
Mhm.
it's not just physically that we're weak, it's existentially we are weak. We are
Mhm.
created from nothing
Right.
and we are given everything.
Mhm.
And Ramadan is, I think, the optimal opportunity to begin to realize this.
Mhm.
That's all I'd like to say
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the outset.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really kind of great kind of points that I really liked it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Hikmet Hocam, what would you like to comment on this? Yeah.
Cool, you already explained everything, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to say clearly one sentence.
Mhm.
This like purpose, our like Ramadan purpose is great and it's explained well. We need to thank Allah, God,
Mhm.
for His lordship and as well as that all the bounties He provided us.
Mhm.
This is clearly telling us that when you cannot eat and drink or when you cannot do negative thing, that means that nothing belongs to us. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean only just the food and everything. That means all our eyes, tongue, and hearing and seeing is
Mhm.
just giving to us by Allah. That is just as long as we remember that how much that we have or have less or we are completely ajz and faqr. This is also telling us that how Allah's bounty is too a lot compared to that our ajz and faqr. So nothing is really clearly that telling us that nothing belongs to us. Everything is giving to us by
Mhm.
Allah. And that's all I wanted to say right now. That the first
Yeah.
point is clear there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, just yeah, as mentioned, of course, I mean it is. Yeah, I like contextualism. I'm gonna put like in the start of Buddhism, like this, of course, I mean just clearly, just it's a great kind of prelude to start to like in the fasting, and then of course, I'm just as Kunle I'm gonna point out, like especially this question is just a little kind of mind-boggling, just like gonna saying, yeah, of course. Well, I mean, how can you be called like a human if you do not participate this? It's a great kind of warning, actually, just for all of us and that we must contemplate on this like it's been continuously every Ramadan and always, of course. All right,
Can I
so
can I just say one thing
please,
about
please,
this,
yeah, yeah.
just this last sentence? I
Hmm.
mean, Ustad is sometimes criticized by
Hmm.
people who don't know him
Hmm.
when he writes things like this. But when he says, "Do they deserve to be called human?"
Hmm.
You can only really be human if you are
Hmm.
a believer.
Right.
You
Yeah.
really can only be. I mean, even if you
Hmm.
have a little belief, it means that you have humanity. Um,
Hmm.
so, we can only understand what it means to be human if
Hmm.
we can understand that. Hikmet's point was
Hmm.
beautiful.
Hmm.
You know, our eyes and ears and everything else.
Yeah.
It's not just that we are ajiz and faqir. Everything that we think, it's not just food and drink that's given to us.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
all of these senses and lata'if
Hmm.
also are
Yeah.
from him, and it gives us an
Mhm.
opportunity to know this. And
Yeah.
it's only when we know this that we can understand what human is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is not an insult against
Mhm.
people who do not fast.
Of course. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really did think this at first was quite harsh, but
Right.
I realize now it's
Mhm.
a reality. We can only
Yeah.
know our humanity
Yeah.
through knowing what we are
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
We are not owners of anything.
Of course, yeah, that's a good point. So it's just basically you're elevating yourself, right? So like, and as it says, like in the first sentence, like just write the sentence like in before, it's compassionate and so like it's universal. So they respond like with worship. So you need to participate that, or like you need to answer or respond to that sort of compassionate and universality. Yeah, yeah, and just enjoy like and just being and see it and of course practice it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, just if you would like to be called, like, of course, when you hear like this to start like believing. So otherwise, like, what? How are you going to distinguish yourself with the other creatures? Yeah, yeah. Great points. Great points. Yeah, I really loved it. This conversation. All right, let's continue. Like, just maybe just without like maybe inshallah, like this we can get like there's been more information, inshallah, just and share like our thoughts deeply. All right, so then the second point, so start continuous. On the many wise purposes behind fasting in Ramadan concerns humankind's thankfulness for God's bounties and is as follows. As explained in the first word, now it takes us all the way to like it's been two words. The first word from Saleh. A price must be paid for the food that the servants bring on trays from the royal kitchen. How foolish it would be then if we were to give the waiter a tip while ignoring the one who sent them in the first place and dismissing those priceless bounties as worthless. God Almighty has scattered countless bounties across the face of the earth for mankind, and in return, He requires us to pay for them with our gratitude. The apparent causes behind those bounties are nothing more than servants or tray bearers. We are to an extent indebted to those servants, and we pay them a price accordingly, showing them great respect and gratitude that in actual fact they do not merit. The true bestower of bounties is infinitely more deserving of thanks than are those causes, which are simply the means whereby those bounties are delivered. To thank Him, then, is to recognize that those bounties come from Him directly. To thank Him is to appreciate their worth and to acknowledge our own need for them. Fasting in Ramadan is thus the key to true, sincere, comprehensive, and universal gratitude. This is because at other times of the year, most people who are relatively well off do not realize the value of the bounties they receive, since they do not experience real hunger or true need. Those whose stomachs are real hunger or true need, those whose stomachs are full, especially if they are rich, do not understand the bounty there is in a single piece of dry bread. Those whose stomachs are full, especially if they are rich, do not understand the bounty there is in a single piece of dry bread. When the time to break the fast arrives, however, a believer's taste buds testify that dry bread is one of God's most precious and valuable bounties. During Ramadan, everyone, from king to beggar, expresses a kind of gratitude through understanding the true worth of those bounties. Moreover, since eating is forbidden during daylight hours, those who have fasted will say, "These bounties do not belong to me. I am not free to eat them, since they belong to another and have been given to us as gifts. I will therefore wait for his command." They will recognize the bounty as a bounty and they will give thanks accordingly. Fasting is, in many respects, like a key to gratitude, which is one of humankind's fundamental duties. What a beautiful writing. What a beautiful, of course, I mean, just like the logic and rational kind of way, like to put it, like to start with someone again, like he's weaving like everything, like it's just great kind of artistic canvas and just putting like the words and sentences like just in a great kind of like in a fashion. and of course, I mean, psychologically, I mean, just the comparisons and everything. This is kind of great, and you can easily dedicate your time and everything, even like in a PhD thesis, on just on this like in a second point. I don't know, like if I'm exaggerating, but that's what I'm kind of like I'm thinking. Just what do you think, Komeja? Is it like too much to say that? But
No, you're not
yeah.
exaggerating, actually. You're
Yeah.
even maybe what's the opposite of exaggerating?
Yeah.
Underestimating. Anyway,
Underestimating.
Hikmet Hoca is going to speak
Yeah.
now, inshallah.
Sure, sure, inshallah. Hikmet hocam. Yeah. Maybe just you can start like just now.
Okay. Well, the second point is I'll just be brief, and
Mhm.
basically that our fasting is just being thankful to Allah for everything He provided us, and everything is coming from us. And like we said in the beginning, nothing
Mhm.
belonged to us. That is just helping us to understand that clearly, that nothing belonged to us. And the first word, and we all know the example. I'll give you a couple of examples as well. I think that the fasting is also help us internally and externally as well. Like how in emphasis and alafaki bounties that we get, fasting is going to be helpful to understand clearly as well. We can talk about emphasis or internal help. I mean, we have a completely different opinions, imagination, and
Mhm.
tafakkur. But I will just give you a couple of other examples as well. That when we look at the sunrises and sunsets for 365 days,
Mhm.
we have no idea and what's happening in the sun to give
Mhm.
us that all the nur and all the
Right.
lights and as well as the heat too. And we
Yeah.
have no finger to touch that as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Allah is just helping us
Mhm.
every single day, 365 days, that sun rises and sun sets. And there
Mhm.
is a price for that as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So this
Mhm.
Ramadan is also just telling us not only food and drink that we have
Mhm.
to study to clearly explain that we understand this does not belong to us. None of the
Mhm.
food is belong to us because
Yeah.
when you look at the seed, we don't
Mhm.
see any orange trees or like
Mhm.
wheat and barley or corn,
Mhm.
soybean,
Mhm.
nothing.
Mhm.
So this is clear that it's coming from Allah, and then we can just do the tafakkur as well. And the
Mhm.
other thing is that the air, it's free. And
Mhm.
think about it. If air was stopped like in 1 minute, 3 minutes, or 4 minutes, let's say
Yeah.
5 minutes, then we'll be done.
Yeah.
It is freely available. What is
Mhm.
the price of that air?
Yeah.
So, and thinking about those all external parts, like all the plants and animals just serving us,
Mhm.
right? Everything. Today, everybody was talking about the zinc deficiency. Zinc deficiency is important for human development or brain development and other things as well. It helps immunity too. And the one of the most important part is or zinc is coming from Allah gave that to meat for
Mhm.
until certain time. So that this is clearly telling us that Allah knows everything and gave us that the animals serving us, right?
Yeah.
And so this is just an external explain or
Mhm.
examples, and they
Yeah.
all need a big, 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 huge thank to
Mhm.
Allah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we cannot. Impossible. It is impossible to have that type of like
Mhm.
looking at the seed, soybean
Mhm.
seed or corn seed, and
Mhm.
you cannot understand that there's going to be a lot of completely different plant species and a lot of seeds is
Mhm.
coming. Where it is coming from?
Yeah. Yeah.
And soil doesn't understand, plant doesn't understand, seed doesn't know anything.
Mhm.
And yeah, this
Mhm.
is clearly telling me that, or that have to tell us that, or we need to understand that it's
Mhm.
just giving to us as a big bounties, and we need
Mhm.
to thank Allah as we
Yeah.
give. Like when we buy an apple,
Mhm.
from the studying
Mhm.
first word is clearly telling us that
Yeah.
we are paying some kind of price. But
Yeah.
when you look at the apple, that you need to think
Mhm.
about that where it's coming from. This
Mhm.
apple cannot be happening in the lab, in outside. Anybody that cannot do it.
Mhm.
So even when you are just drawing a picture of this, it's
Mhm.
not the picture as long as or as much as close to the real apple. That is
Mhm.
valuable picture, right? It
Yeah.
is not. If it is not, like a kid is just drawing an apple, it's not
Mhm.
valuable, right? Or we cannot just say, hey, this is just a simple thing.
Mhm.
And this is really helping all the human being, internally and externally, that we need to be really thanking Allah, not only just by word, by just stop eating, and then making tafakkur, thinking about that what's happening in the world, and clearly saying that nothing belongs to us, that it's just coming from Allah.
Yeah.
This is all I can say. I think I talked too much.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Great. Like it's been point, like it just points that you made. I really liked it. Of course, I'm just taking a second to just think carefully. Just don't take everything for granted, and just and inshallah, just think deeper and just try to find like the true meaning. Isn't that right, Kulmuja? Maybe just you can comment a little more on this.
Yeah, I mean, Hikmet does this most of the time that we're
Yeah.
together. He gives me cues,
Yeah.
and he mentioned
Yeah.
Anfusi. If you
Yeah.
can scroll down a little bit, um,
Mhm.
towards the end of the section, uh, yeah, there, up a bit. Sorry.
Here?
No, sorry, the other way. Go
Oh,
the
the
other
other.
way. Yeah, there.
Mhm.
Right. It says there, moreover, since eating is forbidden during daylight, those who have fasted will say, these bounties do not belong to me. I'm not free to
Mhm.
eat them. Right. So you can go to your refrigerator
Mhm.
a minute before
Mhm.
iftar, and
Mhm.
everything is haram for you.
Yeah.
And maybe it's, I mean, I don't like the word psyche, but
Mhm.
our qalb
Mhm.
is really influenced by iman in this
Mhm.
case because no one would touch that. A minute before, you know it is haram. You know
Yeah.
what the penalty is. You know,
Right.
the penalty is 2 months fasting,
Yeah.
concurrent days,
Yeah.
which shows you how important the
Mhm.
fast is, not because of eating or not eating. It's we are not free to eat them because they belong to another. But
Mhm.
why the anfusi uh, the thing that the Hikmat said is important is
Mhm.
because we have to extrapolate from this and think that all of the bounties that I have, none of them belong to me, and
Mhm.
I'm not free to use them unless he allows. So, for example, if you are skilled as, say, a thinker, sorry, one
Mhm.
second.
Sure.
If you are skilled as a thinker, or
Mhm.
if you have a particular skill,
Mhm.
you are not free to use it in the way that you want
Mhm.
because it doesn't belong to you. So
Yeah.
if Allah has given you, for example, skills in medical science,
Mhm.
then you're not free to use those as you want them because they're not from you, right? You
Yeah.
can't eat them. In other words, you can't consume your
Mhm.
own skills as if they're yours because they
Yeah.
belong to someone else and they've
Yeah.
been given as gifts and you can only use them. Okay, this is not, there is not a certain time you can use them, but you can only use them for his sake,
Yeah.
just as you can only eat when it's time.
Yeah.
So I think that, as I said, when I first used to fast, all I got from it was
Mhm.
hunger and thirst.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to realize that this is not about food and drink. It's about rizq in
Mhm.
its widest and broadest conception. So
Mhm.
every single thing that we're given, every skill, every latifa, every quwwah,
Mhm.
we're not free to consume them as we want.
Mhm.
It has to be under the amr of Allah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think Ramadan tells us this
Mhm.
beautifully.
Beautifully, right? Isn't it? Yeah, yeah. And then I really like this, especially just the comparison. So in like during like Ramadan, so you understand the true meaning of all these like rizqs, or like all the bounties, and even like the dry bread. So like as like Marjan like I mentioned about like just been going back to like in a few seats, just like think about consider from all the way like from up the sun and all the way down to like just maybe the seeds. Nothing is yours, and of course, at the same time, like just contemplate, right? Just think the true meaning and be grateful. Don't take like everything for granted, and just try to like go back. And even the dry bread, understand. Even if you're rich, so you have the chance to compare. Just make that comparison, understand it. Yeah, awesome, awesome. It's like more than fasting, more than like, and of course, I mean cutting, eating and drinking. I guess, yeah. Maybe Shaheen, so he would like to say a word. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, in that chapter,
Mhm.
being thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the Creator, has a certain steps. One is, I think, three steps is mentioned here.
Mhm.
One is recognizing all the bounties are directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the creator.
Mhm.
Recognizing all the bounties are coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's a supplier, he's a provider. Recognizing this, understanding this is the first step, I think.
Mhm.
Then the second step was recognizing and understanding the value of the bounties. These are the valuable, worthy. This is the second step. Then the third step is feeling the need towards those bounties,
Mhm.
feeling the oneself, ourself, the need towards those bounties. Then those three steps can easily be understood during Ramadan fasting.
Mhm.
Yeah, everybody feels that all the bounties are directly from him. Since we are waiting his command, then you can eat from that time on. Then we are waiting for his command. Therefore, everybody soul feels this, that all the bounties are directly from him. We also feel the value, the worth of the bounties, since a dry bread is also very valuable for the fasting individual, especially at the break time of the fast, he feels it. Then feeling his need. Maybe some bounties can be valuable, but I may not need it. But we also need we also feel our need fully. We are hungry, we are thirsty, we are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bounties more. Those three steps can easily be understood by fasting, alhamdulillah.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, great comment. Yeah, great, like breaking down. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Anyone else would like to just comment or just to add one more thing?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Bismillah. Go ahead.
Regarding the last sentence of the first point, when Hocam,
First point, sure.
he said a
Mhm.
lot. So it is directly related with the second point as well.
Mhm.
So maybe that expression is misunderstood, but maybe
Mhm.
it is the meanings in it. Maybe it is less said, because as we discussed in the second point, we were nothing, and we are given all these blessings, and as defined in the first point as well,
Right.
the ayah "أستعيذ بالله من حيث لا يحتسب." We are given all the blessings we cannot imagine, even from the dry wood. We are given all kinds of
Right.
fruits and vegetables from the soil,
Mhm.
unimaginably. So
Mhm.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is showing His rububiyyah, His lordship,
Right.
by sending us to this world. Out of nothing, we are given all these blessings.
Mhm.
Although we are thanking a person who does a very little favor to us, we do
Mhm.
not forget to thank that person. But
Yeah.
we are given all these blessings, so out of
Mhm.
nothing, not responding with our thanking, not responding with our
Mhm.
gratitude. So this is
Mhm.
absolutely out of humanity. So it's not a humane
Yeah.
uh, action, right? So that
Yeah. Yeah.
expression is
Mhm.
defining this meaning.
Mhm.
So those who are not responding to this, of course,
Mhm.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has defined in the
Mhm.
ayah and in the fasting in Ramadan.
Mhm.
Those who are not able to fast, they are excused, of course, during because of the health
Certainly.
issues
Certainly.
and so
With
on.
the excuses.
So
Yeah. Mhm.
without any excuse, not
Mhm.
joining to this feast of
Mhm.
Ramadan, this is inhumane. This is not,
Mhm.
deserving being called as a
Mhm.
human being.
Yeah.
So we rejecting a
Mhm.
great favor,
Mhm.
of course. Yeah, so that expression is
Mhm.
defining
Mhm.
this very comprehensive truth. So
Mhm.
Allah Subhanahu, He wants us to respond with our ubudiyah, our servitude to
Mhm.
His universal lordship. So because of this, in the second point,
Yeah.
the expression of foolishness is used. It's also maybe harsh expression, but
Right.
it's quite a logical, rational expression, because we are even
Mhm.
telling a person who is not thanking with a little favor.
Mhm.
We look at that person, how rude that person. So
Yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He granted all these blessings to us. So not appreciating those blessings, not knowing the owner of these blessings, of course, absolute
Mhm.
foolishness it is. Yes.
Certainly, certainly. So like I like it, just like how you just put it, like you have to form that link, isn't it? So just you have to find that relationship, and then of course, I mean, just participate it, yeah, recognizing it, and just and especially great ways. It's just which I really liked it, appreciate it. We have one more comment, I guess. Lion, go ahead, please,
Okay, thank you very much.
please. Mhm.
Thank you very much for nice contributions.
Mhm.
I understood until this now, after explanations.
Mhm.
The question is this. Let me ask this question to me and also all of us. Who am
Yes.
I? Who am I? Answer, it is clear that we are just nothing. Why we are just nothing? Because like our Hikmet Hocam said, nothing belongs to us. We have nothing to do something by ourselves. Just we feel that we feel everything. We feel what we need. We recognize what is created for us and given to us for our servants
Mhm.
and many bounties. And also some people think that I am king, I'm beggar. And during Ramadan, everyone understands there is no difference between king and beggar. Why? Because you are all have just nothing. All the things you think you have, actually, all they are given to you, not belong to you. Just aware of the fact and do your best in this Ramadan by fasting. Show your great universal gratitude, which given to us by Allah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it, thank you. Good comment. Well, I like it. All right. So, if there's no other comment, I'd like to, oh, I think like one more. Oh, go ahead, Fatih Karbulut.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Please go ahead.
I agree with the brother, but at the same time, he asked, who are we?
Mhm.
And we are the guests in this world, and we are the guests of the king of the kings, let's say.
Mhm.
If a king invites to you
Mhm.
bounty, you should, participate with it.
Mhm.
You should accept that. He's the owner, so he invites us to this event, and if we don't obey or if we don't accept his invitation, what I mean is he has created us in the best manner, if we ahsani taqwim. And to be a real human necessitates to worship him, to obey his rules, orders, and to be a real human. One of the worship, the biggest of the worships is fasting in Ramadan. So I think here to be a real human means that also. This is why Ustad says also they
Mhm.
do not deserve to be called human.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you, appreciate it. Oh, one last, okay, line. Would you like to add? Maybe just very briefly, very short. Go ahead. Because I'd like to continue with the third point.
Actually, I said, who am I or who are we? We are just
Mhm.
nothing in terms of ego. I
Mhm.
wanted to answer in terms of ego. Actually, Fatih abi explained very well. Just
Mhm.
you are right.
Mhm.
Aksani Takvim, and we are the real guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's continue. Maybe just one more third point. Maybe we can just talk a little more. All right. Third point. One of the wise purposes behind fasting in Ramadan concerns the social life of mankind and is as follows. Human beings have been created differently as far as the nature of their livelihoods is concerned. Okay, yeah, that's really nice. Human beings have been created differently as far as the nature of their livelihoods is concerned. As a result of this difference, God Almighty asks the rich to help the poor. One way in which the rich are able to understand the pain and hunger of poverty is through fasting and self-denial. Fasting and self-denial in Ramadan. If there were no fasting, there would be many self-indulgent rich people who would be unable to understand how severe hunger and poverty can be, or how much in need of compassion the poor and the hungry actually are. Compassion for other human beings is an essential part of true gratitude. I love this sentence, yeah. Compassion for other human beings is an essential part of true gratitude. One who practices self-denial in Ramadan will understand that whoever he is, there will always be someone poorer than he in some respect. Ramadan encourages him to be compassionate towards others. If he himself were not compelled to experience hunger, he would be unable to show compassion to others by giving them the assistance they need and which he is obliged to give. And even if he were able to give assistance without fasting in Ramadan, he would not have experienced the state of hunger himself, and so his compassion would lack authenticity. How greatly he explains, like again, just the way that Ustad Viduzaman, of course, I mean, just like now he's just putting in front and just again and again and going back again, just to changing like in our perspective and considering, of course, I mean, just a little bit of kind of empathy and sympathy and just all of these like in a true kind of faculties, I guess, so is like to practice. And I guess like his way of kind of an encouragement is always like putting yourself to in others like shoes, but at the same time like use those faculties Allah Almighty has bestowed upon us, right? Be considerate, be compassionate, and everything, and just use all of these great kind of tools and instruments to understand and to solve this like in a puzzle of life. And of course, I'm just elevate your iman and humanity again and again. I don't know, like if I'm like gonna just putting it like into just right word, Hikmat Hocam, Kolin Hocam, who would like to go first now to comment this third point?
Colin hocamız diyorum inşallah.
All right.
It looks as though it's been decided for me. I don't mind.
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I mean, going back to the as Jesmi pointed out, the last sentence of the first
Sure.
section, which we dwelt on quite a lot.
Certainly. No
I mean,
problem.
you don't have to go back to it. It's where,
So it's okay. One more time. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Mhm.
You know, do these people deserve to be called human? As we said, there is a kind of ostensible harshness there, which is not really harsh at all. It's just
Mhm.
very realistic because gratitude,
Yeah.
if there is no gratitude, I mean,
Mhm.
kufran and ni'mah, right? There
Yeah.
is a category of kufr.
Mhm. Mhm.
To not be grateful
Mhm.
is a kind of kufr, really, because what you're saying is it doesn't matter where my food comes from. You
Mhm.
know, for all I know, it comes from the shop.
Mhm.
That's all. So there's no gratitude there. And gratitude is what makes a human being, also compassion. So what Ustad is doing here, he is threading all of these traits and qualities together, you know, like tasbih, you know, and putting them all on the same level. So there's compassion, there's the sense of, you know, self-negation, there's the sense that one is nothing. And of course, you know, we know that Ramadan is Allah says, this is for me. Because this is the worshipful act that we do, which is most like him, because what actually we do nothing. Oh, we are it's a completely passive activity. It's a completely passive ibadah. So this is what is loved by him the most. And you can see here how Ustad is weaving in all of these different qualities, right? Such as compassion, you know, fellow feeling, gratitude. These are what make a human being.
Yeah.
So these are really concomitants of belief. If you are a believer, you should have gratitude, you should have compassion. And you can only have that by knowing what you are and what you're not. You know, what we are is what we're not is owners of anything. And if that doesn't bring compassion, you know, like we have compassion for our brothers who are fasting as well. And that also gives us fellow feeling. That also gives us love, you know. I know next week that everyone on here will be, unless they have an excuse, will be fasting.
Yeah.
And it will join us all together at the table, you know, at the feast table. And that is a huge ni'mah, right? Because I mean, you become a collective personality. So we will all be fasting. And that's wonderful. But then there will be people who don't have food. And we will all be thinking how fortunate we are, and we will be feeling compassion for those that don't have food. So, you know, these points really are not just, you know, 1, 2, 3, like a shopping list. These are really deep and profound expositions of why we fast and why it makes us a true human to fast.
Yeah,
So it really
absolutely.
does contextualize and gives a bit of background to that sentence at the end of the first point. Cannot be human unless you fast.
Unless you
Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, people who know nothing about fasting and they don't fast, doesn't mean that they're inhuman. But to be truly human, as Ustad says elsewhere, only someone who truly believes can be truly human.
Yeah.
And only someone who knows what they're not, you know, that they are ajiz and faqir and that they're not owner. Only they can understand the reality of existence.
Yeah. Yeah. To like just to form, yeah, just to connect. Yeah, connect that. Yeah. Connect is how important that is. Hikmat Hocam, yeah.
Can I, sorry,
Great.
can I share something about
Oh,
the
yeah,
last
oh,
sentence?
please go ahead. Go
Yes.
ahead. Yeah.
From the 21st verse, there are some explanations we can help from these explanations to understand the last sentence of the first point. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yes, the heart, mind, and spirit of the Risale-i Nur students, of course, all believers, would not stoop to lowly, harmful, inferior things like that. But everyone has an evil commanding soul. Everyone has an evil commanding soul. And sometimes the soul's emotions influence certain veins of character and govern to an extent in spite of the heart, mind, and spirit. I am not accusing your hearts, minds, and spirits. I am not accusing your hearts, minds, and spirits. I have confidence in you because of the effect of the Risale-i Nur. But the soul, desires, emotions, and imagination sometimes deceive. For this reason, you sometimes receive severe warnings. This severity looks to the soul, emotions, desires, and imagination. Act cautiously. I think this kind of severe threat or warnings coming from the Quran and looks to the nefis, our nefis, I think, only perhaps can understand this kind of warning.
Right.
Sometimes this is its need to stop it, to act unjustly, but not to the heart of human being, heart of and the conscience of human being, the spirit of human being, and to the evil commanding soul.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Great point, Alirja. Great point, Alirja. And it also kind of reminded me just your comment about another plugin part, the start Verizon like uses that every Risale Nur student should always like have like attention, right? So like while you're reading it, have always that sort of kind of warning, right? Like on some level of like just your heart, like or maybe just your mind, just yeah, like always have some sort of kind of attention, like while you're reading it, while you're praying worshiping and everything. And this is kind of like a great point that we brought up. Thank you so much. Great comment and great place that for us to remind. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Last but not least, Hikmat Hocam.
I'll just add a couple of things about the third point. This
Please,
is just a
please.
social. Yeah, thank you. This is just the social life what the Ramadan is going to bring us for socially in our ijtimai hayat or social life, and to be like through Thanksgiving and or provide the true Thanksgiving. And if someone doesn't expose anything that or the person that who has next to you who will not understand what he's been going through. Let's say we are sitting down with students and other colleagues, and then when we were looking at or briefly talking, and if you go a little bit deep, then you can understand what he's been going through. Especially, it is easy to understand the challenges he's been going through when you had that type of issues or challenges. So this is basically telling us that if we don't fast, that meaning that we don't have any issues eating, poverty, or hungerness, then we won't understand that who's next to us is just going through. In order to clearly understand what they've been going through is just to expose or has have some kind of experience. And fasting, alhamdulillah, is telling us that we do have a people around us in social life, our neighbor, for instance, our students or colleagues, and they've been going through like challenges and hungerness or poverty, then we can easily understand. Allah is just knows us better than us, and he knows that we need to expose this type of thing to understand and help each other. And there is a saying here, I think everybody knows that sharing is caring.
Yeah.
So right, that's just a care for someone's being really that being a great foundation of true Thanksgiving. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is helping us to understand what's going on and how we can help each other. Otherwise, looking at each other just saying hello, it is not going to help us understand and help each other. We need to experience this type of thing and then to share. Otherwise, then different things is coming out, right? Like what we were talking about, the interest, other things, and all kinds of things is just gonna come out, and that is going to just kill the whole social life.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
all I want to say right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Hikmat Hocam. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, here. Yeah, seriously. Comment. Oh, yeah, Mustafa Hocam. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
One thing to add, I mean, when you hear like poor and hungry, I mean, first thing comes to our mind is like money, right? If someone is wealthy, has to help the other people. But I think when Allah is creating us different level, one thing is maybe from the wealth perspective is maybe the financial part, but another is maybe some people are rich in knowledge. They have to actually help the other side. If some people has, let's say Muslims, some skill and they need to show compassion to the others, and willing to share these things. So it has, I think, many dimensions. It's not only like, oh, okay, I have money and food, I have to give it and share to this. If I don't feel like I'm so rich, I don't have to do it. It's not my responsibilities. Maybe the nefs is cornering us from that perspective. but everyone has something which is higher than maybe someone else, and they can always contribute, even like a smile. Maybe someone is smiling and making some people like very comfortable. They have something like to give away, and if the other side is more motivated and feel much more passionate about Ramadan, this could be his contribution, maybe. Thank you. That was the
Yeah,
thing.
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, just make it like just simple and just you don't have to like even work hard. Even just like smiling is more than enough. Like sometimes. Yeah, thank you for reminding Mustafa.
Can I? Yes. Can
Yeah,
I
Hocam,
share?
please go ahead. Yes.
Relate to the compassion for other human beings is an
Mhm.
essential part of true gratitude. This sentence, especially, uh, each of us wonder the meanings of the sentence. And on Saturday, we discussed these treaties with some friends. One of them shared a sentence about this sentence, I think. This is very interesting, deep, and a little strong. I hope that looks to our nefs. The sentence our brothers shared is this: if a person feels his her pain, this person is alive. If a person feels the pain of others, this person is human being. Compassion for other human beings is an essential part of true gratitude. I think one meaning, as far as we understand from this sentence, one meaning is that we should use our compassion in helping other people. In the month of Ramadan, it is so easy to use this compassion because everybody understands from to each other's situation because of fasting. For example, we can remember the sixth word, Bismillah, inna Allah ashtara minal mu'mina anfusahum wa amwalahum bi anna lahumul jannah. As is stated there, and by using our organs and faculties in the name of Allah, this is to thank to Allah related to these organs or subtle faculties. How can we thank to Almighty Allah relate to the emotion of compassion? I think the answer is to use it in helping other people. As Brother Mustafa said, related to economic situation, related to knowledge they need, related to their, for example, some people are ill, to give console by saying realities from the Quran. The more we use the emotional compassion, the more it, can we say, sprout or becoming bigger, huh? Like from the seed to the tree. If a person doesn't use the emotion of compassion, the emotional compassion can be destroyed and can be in problem. If a person, for example, loses his heart, his leg or arms, physical organs, this person can improve his belief because of this problem, physical problem. But if a person loses his or her compassion, what happens? And that's why in the month of Ramadan, especially, this sentence warns us that we should use this emotion more, inshallah.
Inshallah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And someone like gonna put in the chat box, this is why Islam is called Insaniyat Kubra. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Fatih. All right, thanks a lot, Alirjam. But I don't want you to let go, and so I'd like to first of all thank everyone just to join here and to be like with us. I really appreciate it for your time and everything to be with us, and I would like to say like it's been Ramadan Mubarak. But thanks also like to our Hikmat and Kol Najam for their participations and contributions and comments, being panelists with us. Alojam, would you like to please just recite some Quran and make a dua for the sake of Ramadan, and inshallah, and then I would like to end this week's meeting. Go ahead,
Yes.
please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين Elhamdülillahi Rabbil Alemin ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmain. Allahümme salli ala seyyidina Muhammedin ve ala ali seyyidina Muhammed. Eûzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbena etmim lena nurana vaghfir lena inneke ala kulli şeyin kadir. Rabbena gfir lena ve li ihvanina allezina sebekuna bil iman. ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم زدنا علما ونورا وحلما وآتنا نعمة ظاهرة ونعمة باطنة يا محول الحول والأحوال حول حالنا إلى أحسن الحال اللهم بحق سورة الإخلاص اجعلنا من عبادك المخلصين المخلصين آمين لله تعالى الفاتحة